All right, there we go. Good. Okay. Continuing to talk about what is religion. Oh, let me. We're going to talk about. Where did I stop here? There we go. Oh, only got through 1 page, 1.5 pages. Thanks. All right. Move along, Dr. Dunn. The definitions. No, I didn't do that, did I? Okay, it's fine. Oh, I guess I wanted to mention these things at the beginning of class. Okay, there are 3 things I have. PowerPoints. What do I want to say about the PowerPoints? How to take notes. There were 3 things that I wanted to mention before I get into the lecture, just because they were brought up by a student, and I think they're important. So I made a little note, or a few notes for myself last week after class. Just 3 things I want to mention. Hopefully I'll remember what the 3rd thing is, because I should have written a little bit more. I just wrote PowerPoints, and I'm like, okay, all right, well, we'll see if the brain works by the time I get to that one. Anyways, first thing, in no particular order, but it's just the first thing I wrote down. Remember that if I'm 20 minutes late to class, or something happens, like I'm driving here, like today, and there's a big accident or something, and I can't get through, and I have no way of contacting you, obviously, if I'm stuck on the road, and, I'm not going to be here, then if I'm not here 20 minutes after the start time, then you can leave if you're here. You can assume the class is canceled. All right. Even if I do eventually get here to campus, it doesn't matter. If I'm 20 minutes late, I'm just not here at all, then you can leave. I want to mention that because some people still think it's 15 minutes, which I guess other professors do. They do 15 minutes, but just be aware that it's 20 minutes. Because I'm going to warn you right now, if I come in like 15 minutes and nobody's here, I guess I'll be teaching a class to an empty room. I'll just make the video and teach the class to an empty room and mark everybody absent, even if you were here, 20 minutes. So be aware of that. The second thing is how to take notes. If you're concerned, yes, we'll have discussion in the class. And that's okay. But as I say in the syllabus, everything is fair game for the tests. Okay? But I should add to the syllabus, I'll tell you now, but I guess in future iterations of the syllabus, I'll just make it clear. Like discussions, unless they're really important and related to the topic, and I tell you that, hey, pay attention to this, we're just discussing. I'm not going to hold you to someone's opinion and say, like on a quiz, like, oh, when we talked about what religion is, so-and-so said this, or so-and-so, or we came to an agreement about this or something. No, we're just discussing. We're talking. All right? You're giving your opinions. I'm asking you questions. You understand? Okay, so if you want to take notes on it just to remember certain points, that's fine. But I would really recommend, that's why I mentioned the power. There we go. The little man runs around the brain and he gets there eventually, right? Visramnath, the PowerPoints. It's really, the PowerPoints are for your benefit, okay? I don't have to give them out, except unless there's a disability accommodation, but I do give them out because I want them to be useful to you. So print them out. You can use them as your notebook, so you don't have to sit here and just, write stuff down. You're spending time not listening to me, which might be okay, I guess, but, you're not listening to me talk or give you information. You're spending your time writing down what's on the PowerPoint. Just print it out, okay? I know you have limitations on how much you can print, but try to use them judiciously. And this would be one thing I would recommend to you. Definitely printing out, stapling it together, and you can write notes right on there, and you can also write notes in a notebook to supplement. Okay? But when I am talking, basically everything I'm saying, except for the jokes, and I do say this in the syllabus, is fair game. So you should be paying attention to it. So if I keep talking and coming back to a point, you might want to make a little notation for yourself just so you will know later, okay, that this is what he talked about. And this is why it was important. If you miss anything, there's the link to YouTube on campus, yes? You go there, you go to the lecture, you find the part where maybe you weren't listening so much, and you listen, and you're like, okay, this is what I need to know. And you fill it into your notes, okay? If you didn't get it the first time. Okay, again, that's something I do. I don't necessarily need to do it, but I do it because there is a benefit, I think, to students. Okay, Moving on to religion. What do people call religion? What are the words for religion? I've been talking about, how do we identify religion? One of the things I identified was transcendence. Religion seems to be different from politics or sports or other things in the sense that it transcends even the whole universe, whether you're a Republican or a Democrat or a Green Party or whatever, I don't think on Mars they really care. I don't think that's going to, unless we start colonizing Mars and we have to set up a government, then you might have, then you'll have our political parties possibly move over there. But, it doesn't make much difference to our galaxy if there's a Republican Party, a Democrat Party, or any other type of political party. Politics is a good thing. It helps organize our society, keeps it from chaos and stuff like that, brings people into compromise and how, we can, live our lives. So I'm not saying boo politics like it's a negative that it's not like religion. I'm saying it's different. It doesn't have that transcendent value. A football game or a soccer match, once the score is recorded, you move on. People don't obsess over the last match, and that's all you watch every week. I was watching Manchester City play Ipswich Town. It was like 6-0. Ooh, they got destroyed. But I'm not going to watch that every week, over and over and over again. But in religions, you do that. Certain events are so important, they're transcendent. You do them over again. You make pilgrimage, when you go make pilgrimage to Mecca in Saudi Arabia, there are all sorts of practices. You're imitating and reenacting things that happened in the past again. Every Sunday in a Christian church, a Catholic church, they reenact Jesus' last meal with his followers, with his apostles, again and again and again. In the Catholic Church, every day, almost, if they have daily Mass. Over and over, it's transcendent. Another point, I guess maybe I'll get to this later in my notes, ultimacy. Let me just see if I do. Yes, I do. So I won't, but ultimacy is another point I'll make, but I'll make that later. How do people talk about religion? Because it's true that the word religion was taken from a Western context, as I told you, and was used as a kind of a blanket term for these spiritual practices that were not politics, were not music, were not, hey, Ms. Lane? Yes. Okay. We're not politics, we're not anything else you could, put it into that bucket. So all the things that didn't really go into the bucket of politics or music or sports or all sorts of other stuff, philosophy, then went into this bucket called religion, okay, dealing with the spiritual world. Before I forget. Ms. Lane. Okay. But people did have words for something that I think we could identify as religion in ancient Greek world. So I'm going to start here with the Western world. Ancient Greece, they had words like theos, and threskeia, theos, which is related to the word theos, which means God. Theos. There you go. Theos, which means God. So theos, you add an iota, another letter, and you get divine or godlike, we could say. Okay. And so they spoke of what was related to the gods. And this is an idea that will kind of keep coming up in other human cultures as well, even if they use different words. Ms. DePrinzio, are you able to see? Are you okay?
The computer.
Computer? All right. There are other chairs open. Let's see here. What can I can't really push it back anymore without breaking it. I don't think it's under warranty anymore, so sorry about that. All right. Probably the Greeks were using this word theos in the sense of, as I said, things connected to the divinities, the gods, okay, these really powerful spirits who had some control over aspects of the world. But they also use the word threskeia, and this is not misspelled. You need the whatchamacallit, the line over the E here because it's a different letter in Greek, in the Greek alphabet. It's a long E rather than a short E. It was threskeia instead of threskeia, which meant worship or devotion. So again, relating back to the gods, the deities, devotion towards the gods, paying them their proper respect or honor. Okay, so that was another kind of, in lieu of a word like religion, they would talk about devotion to the gods or the worship of the gods. And that was religion, basically. If we move east of Greece and we get to India, ancient India, the Indian subcontinent, obviously they're speaking different languages, okay, so they're using different terminology. But the word there most commonly used is dharma. They talk about dharma. And another word, punya. But I forgot to look that up. Anyways. But dharma is what you'll encounter. And dharma is a very broad term. It comes from an ancient language named Sanskrit, which is a dead language now. It's just used as a religious language. It's used in the Hindu religion, in their prayers and whatnot. But it's dead now. But it's an ancient language. It's related to Latin, other ancient languages like Latin and Greek, and even English, were the same general language family that spans from India all the way over to Europe. So it's called the Indo-European language family. And it's all dozens and dozens of different languages, which all scholars believe have a common source, just because some of the words are so similar, and the grammar in a lot of ways is similar. This word is not that similar. Dharma, but it is similar in a sense. If you look in Latin, firmus is the relative term in Latin. This aspirated D, dharma, became a F sound in Latin. So firm. And why is firm in the sense of foundation or foundational? Okay? And that's what dharma is conceived as. It has a lot of different ideas. It can be used to talk about morality and ethics, the practice of virtue, your duty. Duty is a big one. Your obligations within society is your dharma. But its basic meaning, as you can see on the PowerPoint in Sanskrit, is a foundation. What supports the universe, the cosmos, makes it work. That's ultimately dharma. It's what makes everything work in the universe. In the human sciences like astronomy, they would call this, I think, like the theory of everything, which astronomers and astrophysicists and physicists have been trying to develop for decades now, but they haven't been able to come to any agreement on it. But they want a very simple, elegant equation that would explain everything, would be the foundational equation for everything, the theory of everything. They haven't gotten it yet. But the Hindus were already there many thousands of years ago when they came up with this concept of dharma, that there's this foundational element or something to the cosmos which makes it all work. And your job is to insert yourself into that, to not fight against it, but just insert yourself into it and practice the dharma that's given to you, that's appropriate. Your duties, so include your duties in life. So as a student, your dharma right now is to be a student, and that's it. From a Hindu perspective, if you're a student and you're also working other jobs, I'm not criticizing, I'm just using this as an example, then you're kind of muddying your dharma in a way, creating problems, okay? You need to get back to your essential dharma. After being a student, your dharma changes. It transforms into being a householder. If you're a man, it means getting married and raising up children, especially boys. It's the way it is in the culture. Having a business, making money. If you're a woman, it's being a wife and running a household, taking care of the children. This is from Hindu culture, the Hindu dharma, and dharma in their religion. And that's your duty, that's your obligation. But it also is used to talk about your dharma or your obligation to different levels of existence, not just a social level of where you are in society, but your also existential level of where you are in what you could say, the chain of being. You know, I am a human being. I'm not a god. At least I don't think I am. I have an Irish mother, so I certainly am not. She reminds me of that every day. You're not God, you know. Am I? Make me a cup of coffee, will you? All right, Mom. She has lymphedema. She can't walk well, so I make her coffee and get her stuff. And anyways, but so it also means your duty to higher beings than yourself, things that are existentially superior to you, like the gods, the spirits. They're more powerful than you, so you have a dharma or a duty to them. Even, Mr. Vital, the bad gods, the demons. Ooh, yeah. Is it a chapstick? Is it flavored or is it just drop? Ooh, very nice. Nice. Yeah, in some religions, especially the pagan religions, the old religions, which Hinduism is one of them that we'll learn about, yeah, there are bad gods, gods that are not nice, the demons, the Asuras. You have to have a duty to them as well. You don't just worship the good gods, you have to also placate and worship the bad ones sometimes. Otherwise, they'll come after you. So if Dharma, so the Dharma is very elastic. I mean, it can mean simply morality or ethics or your duty in the society. But when it starts talking about more transcendent things, we might say, I would say, like gods and spirits, performing rituals to them, then I think we're getting more into the sense of Dharma as religious, more properly religious, we would say, than something else. Okay? But that's the thing about religion, especially in the ancient world, not in the modern world. There's no distinction in people's minds between religion and secular, religious and secular. Okay, so there was really no, you see this again in the Indian mindset, the Hindu mindset. Everything is, you could say, religious. There's just no conception really that there's this division between the secular world, which kind of goes its own way, but then you got, the world of the church or the synagogue where you believe in spirits and you talk about gods and, you read these stories and miracles and all this other stuff, which you don't expect to happen outside in the regular world. All right, some people do, but, those are the crazies. But you don't burn a candle for your sick kid. If the kid has cancer, you take him to cancer treatment, right? Or you do both. But you act differently outside the church or the synagogue or the mosque sometimes than you act within those things. Not with ancient rule, but that's a modern mindset. We've made that mindset in the last few centuries with the Enlightenment. That was not the mindset of the ancient world. There was no distinction between politics or religion. They were all the same to people in their people's minds. And you see this in the concept of Dharma. So it bleeds into religion, and religion bleeds into the society, you might say. Okay, I did that. If we go further east into Asia, and we come to, East Asian cultures, China, Japan, Korea, the word that's used is this general term, Tao or Tao, right? The old form of spelling was Tao, which I grew up saying Tao because I'm a literalist and I saw a T, but I didn't realize that in the Wade-Giles system, actually, this should be have a softer sound to it, or pronunciation. It should really be pronounced Tao, even though it's spelled with a T. So I'll use both. It doesn't matter. At least to me. I'm not going to, jump on it if you say Taoism or Tao or whatever. But Tao, the word Tao, which means, basically a road, a pathway. Basically, a Tao is simply a pathway that you take, that you walk on. But it becomes conceptualized and, comes to symbolize or to mean this kind of, very naturalistic understanding of just simply a road that you walk on, comes to be conceptualized as a principle, something you follow, anything that you follow. So a principle or some teaching or a guide, the Tao. Okay. So like Dharma, it's a very kind of elastic term in East Asian cultures. The word comes from Chinese, okay, ultimately, but it enters into other languages like Japanese. And specifically, what is the Tao? Well, basically, the Tao is how humans are to behave in nature, in the universe, okay? Which is kind of like the Dharma, okay? But I guess one might say that the Tao is maybe has a more ethical stance to it. The Dharma is more like metaphysical in a way, looking at the root of being. It's the foundation of the cosmos. This is more how you are and behave in the cosmos. This includes other people, your ethical actions, but also, again, the Tao includes how you act towards the gods, towards the spirits. You have a relationship with them that has to be recognized. And like the Dharma, the Tao can generally be seen as the way the universe is supposed to work. Okay, you're supposed to honor your parents, your mother and father, honor your ancestors. So that's very big in East Asian culture. Not that it's not big in other cultures, but it's very much emphasized. But you also have to honor the gods and the spirits. You have to honor the superior people above you, the emperor, the kings, the rulers. These are all part of the Tao, the way the society is structured. It's just the way, Tao, the way things are. Just the way things are. And you can fight against it, or you can just be like, a tree leaf moving on the top of a river stream. Just gently go with it. Sometimes you're stopped by a twig for a while, then the water moves you over, you flow down the stream again, going. So you want to be, in a way, not united with, not in union with, what's the word I'm looking for? You want to be at peace, I guess, with nature, with how the world works, the Tao. Once we come back to the West, now we're with the Romans and their language, which was Latin, modern day Italian, as well as other languages. I mean, Latin is still spoken. It's a dead language. Even the Catholic Church used to use it as its standard language, but it's pretty much, it's not really used very much anymore for official documents. It's useful to make translations from, because you have one standard text. But, it's generally not spoken, not even taught in the seminaries anymore. At least it wasn't when I was there. So Latin, which, as I said, still exists today. It's still spoken, but it's spoken in its modern form. Italian, French, Spanish, Romanian, Portuguese. So if you speak any of those languages, you are speaking Latin. You're just speaking it in the way that it developed in those various provinces and areas of the Roman Empire. Religio. This is where we get our term religion from. The Romans spoke about religio. And it's still, I think, a question mark about where this word comes from. Even in the ancient world, when Roman writers would write like etymologies, which are the study of the origins of a word, you come up with different theories. No one seemed to know exactly where religio came from or what it actually literally meant. Okay, the most common etymology or theory about what it came from were two words, re and ligo. So to link, re, together, to bind, link, ligo, link, all right? Ligature, the word ligature we have, which we took from Latin, but link. So you see the relationship between our language. English is a Germanic language. Latin is another branch of the language family, but we have very similar words with basically the same meaning of binding, to link something together. Okay, so to bind something together, okay, that's usually the one you'll find if you look on the internet or you ask Siri or Alexa. But there are other definitions or other theories, like it could come from the word Lego. So I don't mean toy, but the word to read in Latin, lego, leggere, leer in Spanish, lire in French, leggere in Italian, of course. Leggere is very close. Lego, leggere. Which means to reread. So rereading something, which is, I always try to wrap my head around that. How would you get religion and what religion is from rereading? And it might have something to do with the rituals. If you have to read the rituals over and over again. Yes, possible. If you have to imagine what it might be, it's not clear from the words themselves. But that's another theory that the ancients put out there. I don't think it's widely accepted. It's probably binding together of some sort. It's a third theory. I forget what the third theory is. But anyways, so to binding together. Okay, let's go with that one. Religo. What binds together? What binds the community together? Well, first, you're bound together by your family. And so your family has spirits. They're familiar, or familial, I should say, spirits that as a family you might worship of your home. Certainly your ancestors, your forebears, you would worship them and honor them. So there were the spirits of your home, and there were different spirits, like there were spirits of the door of your home, spirits for the hearth, for the fireplace where you cooked your food, and you'd have to honor all of them, okay, in the process of doing things, going in or out or whatever. Honor your ancestors. Then what bound you? Your town, your neighborhood. There might be a specific god of your town, or your city, your region. Then your nation or tribe that you were part of. So you had the major gods of your nation or tribe, your group of people. So you're getting into a bigger and bigger group, and these all bind you together and makes you the group that you are. In this case, the Romans, right? And the gods of Rome that they honored, and the various spirits. So it binds you together. So if you don't honor the gods of your town or your family, then you start fraying the fabric of what binds you together, because the spirits and the gods can then harm you or harm your community if they're displeased that you're not honoring them or worshiping them properly, or not at all. So if you forgot to pray to the gods of the fields, as a farmer, then when you try to go farming, you might find that you don't get as much food, or things don't grow as well as you want them to, or you get a blight, like some mold comes in and destroys part of your crop, or insects or something like that, which could cause a famine, which basically means you don't have enough food to eat. Why? Because you displeased the numen, which would be the spirit of the field. And so the numen is going to teach you a lesson. Don't make that mistake again. Give me my sacrifice. Religio. So these human ideas, whatever the terminology, and you can see that the terminology is different. This hedge pet, what is that? What do you got there? Are those Doritos or something? What's that? Oh, it's candy. What kind of candy? Ah. It's nice. Oh, air nerds. Nice. Like, I I'll bring you some candy later for some Valentine's Day. So if you're allergic, let me know, because I don't want to have to take you to the hospital. So I don't want to hurt anyone. But I will bring something. I'll try to make sure there are no nice dairy. Ooh, very nice. Yes. Talking about religion with Kaylee. What gets better than that? But these words, even though they're very different, do point to something, I think. We're seeing, hopefully you're seeing some commonalities. I mean, I'm not making up these commonalities. These are there, I think. They're describing the existence of something that humans are experiencing. They're not just the creation of the academy, a bunch of PhDs or eggheads. And around this something, human beings have developed groups of ideas and activities to understand whatever this is, call it religion if you want, call it something else, the Tao, whatever, and to interact with it, not just to understand it, but to interact with it. That's where religion wants us interaction with. You're interacting with it. Like again, if I go to, taking the example, say if I go to a play or something, or the opera, or a musical concert, maybe I'm interacting to some extent. I'm singing along with the music and stuff like that. Or I'm just sitting there being attentive, or I might, shout out. But a lot, if you're going to a play or the opera or something, people might hum along, I guess, but you don't really want people shouting out and stuff like that because you might throw the actors and actresses off their lines or off their, because they have to, especially with like opera and stuff, you need intense concentration. So you don't want anything that's going to distract you. But now, people might interact, but usually no. Okay, you're there to watch what's going on. Every now and then, like in the theater, they'll break the fourth wall and they'll come out into the audience and interact with the audience. But a lot of times, no. Okay, so there's not interaction. There's more observation. Even at a sporting event, you're more observing. If you try to interact, you're going to get arrested. Or waylaid by one of the football players, take you out, But you're certainly going to get, arrested or something, you're taken off the field because you're not supposed to interact with the players. You're getting the wrong idea here. You're not part of the show. All right. They're doing the show. Okay. You're to sit there and cheer, and that's your interaction. Chant, do whatever. Religion wants interaction, not just observation, whatever. Okay, you want to interact with this thing that you believe in, this something that we call religion. And these activities and the beliefs are obviously going to be rooted in people's cultures, so they're going to be different. People are going to describe things differently and interact with them differently. Okay, that's one of the things I think makes religion fascinating, because it has this variety of all these weird, goofy ways that human beings have devised to interact with the supernatural realm, we could say. Yeah, they are goofy. But, for me, it makes religion fun, and it makes it interesting. Okay, it's certainly not boring. But anyways, so they go with the people's culture. So we shouldn't expect every religion to look the same. That's that was another argument that some religious studies scholars would have given and would give, that there really is no thing such as religion because they're all different. All these different languages and different customs and well, yeah, but Lebanese food is different from Indian food, and Indian food is different from Mexican food. They're all foods, aren't they? There's something they're all cooking, right? They're all chefs that are cooking these foods. There's some commonality there, even though they're very different ingredients, different cooking styles that have developed. Okay? A tandoori oven versus a pot or a pan, or versus a skillet, all sorts of different things. A wok, also same thing. Why can't it be the same with religion and still be religion? So you find things used in different ways. Different kind of clothing is worn, but they do use clothing. Languages are used. Bodily expressions, dancing or movements and gestures. They're all very different. They need explanation. Ritual needs explanation. It's not obvious to you. But I think you can still say they're dealing with the religious reality. Okay, even though you can't necessarily compare, there's not always an apples to apples, as they say, comparison between certain religious beliefs or practices. You have to explain, like, okay, the Trimurti is not exactly, in Hinduism, is not exactly the same as the Christian idea of the Trinity, all right, which we'll learn about later. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, that's okay. Which, yeah, okay, was a fallacy that people made, a long time ago. Like in the 1800s, people would write books and say, oh yeah, like Christianity stole the idea of the Trinity from Hinduism, which has the Trimurti, the three gods, Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva. Well, no, they're different religions. They came up with the same idea in different ways. So not all religions are the same, just as not all sports are the same, not all music or food is the same, not all political systems are the same. But we are talking about something. So what is it? What is religion? There you go. These are Hindu holy men. I would say that they are worshippers of Vishnu by the markings on their foreheads, which identify which religious group they're part of. I'm assuming this is in front of a temple. And, didn't know they were racists. Given the okay sign, I didn't know they were white supremacists. Yeah. Anyways. But they're giving you, they're not saying okay, they're giving you a symbolic sign, okay? Or they're just, this dude's probably just waving at you. I don't think there's anything religious about it. It's like, hey, yeah. Or he could be saying go away. I don't know. I don't know what it is. Go away. Leave us to our meditations. Many human cultures seem to recognize that there is a superhuman reality, or some kind of reality apart from us humans, a power, a meaning that exists above and beyond us. And so that's where I think religion is coming in. Religion is kind of like a witness or a testimony to human belief that there's a reality filled with beings, places, things that are not part of the real or quote-unquote normal everyday world, the ordinary world. They're extraordinary. There's something else. And however, this reality sometimes interacts with us, people believe. Or we could say interferes with us, breaks into, like a thief breaking into the home sometimes when you don't want it to, into the world and influencing the world. So we talk about like the supernatural world or the religious world. What makes it different is that it has a reality and a meaning for itself that the normal world doesn't have, that we interact with, at least not fully. Okay? And so this abnormal, you might say, reality, or this non-normal reality, explains and gives meaning to the normal reality we live in. It gives final fulfillment to human life. It tells us what life is about. Okay? Lost it. Shouldn't have mentioned her candy. Don't go after the lady's candy. Anyways. What was I saying? Okay. Yeah, you study things like in the normal world, physics and biology and geology and stuff like that. And you learn a lot of stuff and you learn a lot about how the world works, but you're not there to define what the world is. It doesn't tell you what, you might take an astronomy class and it can tell you where the world came from or the cosmos came from, how it was originated. Don't say created. That'll get you into trouble. But it originated, the origin of the cosmos, how the cosmos works. It'll even tell you what will probably happen to the cosmos trillions of years down the line. Okay? If all the laws of physics hold true, and we're sure about what they do. Okay? We can predict what will probably happen. Okay, but it doesn't define everything for the human person. It doesn't tell you what the purpose of it is. It can tell you, okay, yeah, after trillions of years, all the atoms will come apart, and even the black holes will emit most of their energy, and most things will be so far away from each other that the heat of the universe, the cosmos, will kind of level off. They call it heat death. So there won't be any real heat anymore. Nothing will get hotter or colder. It'll just be leveled off, and so there will be really nothing able to come into existence anymore. No stars or anything like that, because there will be nothing there to kind of provide the fuel for it, okay, like heat. As I said, if the laws of physics hold true and we understand them properly, who knows, in 500 years or 1,000 years or whatever, we might find we didn't understand them properly. Nevertheless, But it doesn't tell you the purpose of all of this. What's the purpose of this happening? It tells you just what's probably going to happen, or what's happening now, as we're on this planet that's, rotating on its axis, going around a star in a galaxy, we're told. I've never seen pictures, but, well, I have seen pictures of Earth, I guess, but I've never seen pictures of the Milky Way galaxy, but I'm assuming it's there. You can kind of see it in the sky. Well, you can't here because there's so much light pollution. But if you go someplace where it's really dark, you can kind of see part of the Milky Way across the middle of the sky, all the stars and dust. Okay, but what's its purpose? You can tell me all about it, and it's fascinating to me. I think it's fascinating. But what's its purpose? Why is it there? Why am I here to observe it? What does it matter that I'm observing it? Does it matter at all? Some people ask that, why are we pumping billions of dollars into all sorts of space exploration or all sorts of physics experiments? Why? To understand what's going on the other side of the universe. What purpose does that have for me? Because science doesn't really deal with purpose. It deals with data, results. Religion deals more with purpose. Okay, so there's a reality that gives a final, a definitive, an ultimacy, yes, eventually getting there, an ultimate purpose to this normal world that we live in. And that, doesn't necessarily mean for all religions that this normal world doesn't exist, or, that you don't need to study astronomy or sciences and stuff. Obviously you do. I mean, it's supposedly a Christian university, and you have the sciences, yes? Okay. But they don't define your ultimate purpose. It's not absolute. I mean, it's going to come, even the universe that we live in, again, if you believe the physics, is going to end. It's going to come to sort of an end, as I said, when the heat levels out. And there will be no generation of life or stars or black holes. Even the black holes will go away. I mean, they might still be there a little bit, but most of their energy will be gone. So even in the physical universe, there's this belief, at least among scientists, that it's not absolute, but the supernatural world is conceived to be absolute. No matter what happens to the physical, normal world, the supernatural world keeps going. Even if it ends sometimes. In some religions it ends, but it starts up again. Okay? It's like a cycle. But in other religions it keeps going. There is no end, excuse me. It's absolute in that way. Okay? It's eternal, outside of time and maybe space. It's continuing. And therefore, nothing in human experience is beyond, or I should say, human existence is beyond its influence. Okay, it is the ultimately real. This world is real, yes, but it's not as real as the supernatural world for many religions. That gives us the patterns of what really is real. And in a lot of religions, the normal world just imitates those patterns. So ultimate, ulter in Latin, ulter, ultra, ultrum. Ulter means last, on the other side of something, beyond. Okay, and that's how we talk about in our own language. We say the beyond, or the world beyond. You kind of understand I'm not talking about the natural, normal world. I'm talking about there's a world beyond this one, immediately. I was talking about something religious. I'm not talking about the multiverse, or something, or some parallel universe. It's ulter, it's beyond us. But it's also the last. Okay, it's the ultimate in the sense that it's definitive. Okay, it's the final. How could you say this? It's the point at which everything else revolves. Okay, it's the thing that where you find the ultimate meaning and purpose of everything. All right. In Latin, the word reality comes from the Latin word res, regi, which simply means a thing, any thing or an object. Okay, so reality is simply, the objects of the universe. It's just reality. Okay, the things we can sense and with our senses as animals that we can sense in the world. Not directly, of course, because we have to filter them through our eyes or our nerve endings and stuff like that. We don't have a direct experience of the natural world, but of reality, I should say. So the ultimate thing, or the last thing, I guess is another way you could put it, which is a power, a force, or order. Okay, I'm not committing to any kind of particular thing there. Energy, you could also say. Okay, but some kind of power or order in the universe that is believed to encompass the universe and give it final and lasting meaning. So it transcends because it includes everything, not just human beings, animals, but the planets, the stuff in which the universe is made of, where the universe has come from, where it's going, ultimately, all of that. So it's ultimate because there's nothing beyond it. It is the beyond. Okay, and some religions conceive the ultimate physically. Okay, like in Hinduism, the universe simply extends forever. The physical universe extends forever. It's a kind of thing in a way, or stuff. Even the gods come out of the universe. I mean, the ultimate stuff as we'll learn with Hinduism, the ultimate stuff of the universe is this, just kind of like this divinity, this divine godness of the universe, which is not a personal God. It's not a God. It's just simply divinity, this idea of perfect divinity, perfect happiness, perfect knowledge, perfect being, existence. And so even the God, you relate to this divinity, which is not a God, but even the gods come out of that, and that's how you relate to it personally, through the various gods and goddesses that emerge. But everything emerges from it, even you and I, not just the gods. And even the demons, the bad gods. That's why you have to honor them too. We're all from the same source. Okay, so there's nothing beyond it. Even if you conceive it physically, as they do in Hinduism, as a kind of thing, or maybe say basis for all existence. Or if you conceive the ultimate more existentially as simply existence itself. And this is how you, in like the Jewish, Christian, and Islamic religions, I should say, that's how, God is not physical. God is existential. The ultimate is conceived more existentially as existence. God is existence itself. God is that which exists in and of himself or itself. Okay, to be God is to exist, pure in manner of speaking. He's not physical at all. And it's real because the ultimate reality is the ultimate. Well, excuse me. Let me rephrase that. We say reality because it alone actually is real. Okay, that's why religions become so important for defining people's lives. They live their workaday life, but for real purpose and meaning, maybe people don't call it religion anymore. People will call it spirituality. They're looking for spirituality, which could be just, a few moments on a meditation app on their phone. Okay, maybe it's not associated with any religion. It's just some generic thing like listening to water in the rain, rain in the rainforest falling and stuff like that. That action gives purpose to the rest of the world, or that you're living, or the rest of the life that you're living. It's real. It makes things real for you in the world. Everything else that's going on, all the craziness, you have to get away from that reality, and you want to get back to what really is. People call it mindfulness, being peaceful, at peace, centered. Well, what are you centering from? From all of this, the craziness, the things that you have to do, the obligations that are put on you, the things that people ask of you, things that make you feel bad, usually. Usually not trying to get away from the stuff that makes us happy, the things that trouble you. Yeah? So you want to be centered. Centered on what? By using meditation or prayer or whatever. Why do people go to religion for that a lot of time? Yeah, go ahead. Oh, that's a good question. It's a good question. Yeah, I think things can be transformed into religion if you start giving them that ultimate value. Possible. Yeah, like I mentioned in the previous class about North Korea, the politics in North Korea. Did I mention it in this class? Yeah. That's where a political system probably has maybe some would argue it's crossed that line into more of a religion than a political system. Okay, because you're attributing ultimate value to the leader. In this case is Kim Jong Un. I forget who it was. Kim Jong Un, Kim Jong Il, I think was his father, and another one I forget. He's the founder of the nation. But you're attributing an ultimacy to them that you wouldn't that's not attributed to any other human being. It's like Kim Jong Un knows everything. He knows everything in the world. You can't say he doesn't know anything. He knows everything. How to do everything. Things that are like built in North Korea, if they build like, I don't know, a dam for, river or something, or, well, let's just say that, build a building. No, he did that. Even though he didn't do it. But he did that. He does everything in North Korea, Kim Jong-un believes. There's some people who say it crosses the line. In the case of, say, Russia, the former Soviet Union, with like leaders like Joseph Stalin, I don't know if it became religious, but they certainly used religious imagery. Okay, like they would paint pictures of Stalin to look like pictures of Christ, like religious pictures like that, to try to imitate, say, religion. To try to take that, they want to take the power of religion away. So now the party gave you purpose. The belonging to the Communist Party, that gave you purpose. Religion didn't give you.
More along the lines of if you wanted to reconnect with yourself and you use reading to do that, can reading become your religion?
That's interesting. Well, how do you view, like reading books and stuff like that? Or?
That's just an example.
Okay. What's the purpose of the reading? Why are you doing it?
To escape everything else going on.
Okay. You're using it as an escape. How is it giving you ultimate purpose in your life? Is it giving you ultimate purpose?
Well, hypothetically, yes.
How so?
But can that be a religion then?
Well, we have to first address how is it giving you ultimate purpose, hypothetically.
Well, I gave you a bad example because I don't like to read, so.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think stuff can be turned into a religion, if it becomes a religion.
How would it become a religion?
I think if you start assigning ultimacy to it and transcendence. Yeah, those are the two ideas. Because you don't necessarily even have to have God. I mean, people might say, well, if you have a God, then you probably have a. Well, yeah, you do. But not all religions need to have gods. Because you can have like a religion just centered around another human being, that you honor and even maybe worship as your superior source of knowledge and purpose for the world. Okay, but you still recognize the person as just a holy man or a holy woman. But yeah, I would say the question is, okay, why are you doing that? What value are you assigning to, in your case, you're talking about a practice, which would be reading. But where is that leading you to? Is that the ultimate thing for your life? You exist to read a certain book or something like that? Possible. There might be some religions that are like that, like, for example, Sikhism, the religion from India. They do believe in God, but their main form of religious practice is reading from this book, of their gurus, their teachers, and it's like the presence of God for them. So, the constant reading, okay? Islam, constant reading of the Quran, is really the ideal. I was reading a hadith tradition from Muhammad, reported about Muhammad. What did he say? I'm trying to remember what it was. Well, I can't remember it exactly. But basically, the upshot of this little story about the Prophet Muhammad was that you should be reading the Quran, the Word of God, all the time. That's giving an ultimacy to a book in that case, to a certain practice. Okay. And if the book transcended everything, like the book was the thing you were reading was also your explanation for everything and how the world worked. Now, if you're reading different things, maybe not so much. You might just say that you love books, and that you've found purpose. I mean, you can have purpose in life that's not religious, right? Your purpose in life can be taking care of your children or your family and stuff. And that's not, not necessarily transcendent or ultimate or anything, but it gives you meaning, But if you're like, no, I have to read just this book, I have to read it in just a certain way, and this book has all the answers that tell, for every question that a human being could have and tell me exactly how the world works. But then I'd say, yeah, that is becoming religious, even it could just be reading the works of Shakespeare, say. Let's see okay, there we are. Okay, well, actually, I didn't get into I started getting into the definition, but order, okay. Believe to encompass the universe and give it final lasting, excuse me, and I should also look at your PowerPoint, Dr. Dunn, to exist in it and to give it final and lasting meaning. Okay, so the ultimate reality, anyways. Exists in the universe. I forget what I said about that. It makes the universe real. Let's put it how. That's what it means when I think when I say it exists in it. Okay, because I don't want to get you confused because I've been talking about it being part of it's a non-normal thing, but it does interfere and interact with the normal world, and it makes sense out of the normal world. As I said, it makes it real for people. So everything from the highest form of being, say a god, we might say a god or a goddess, to the lowest form, like an atom or something like that, the smallest parts and particles of matter. Each one of those has purpose. This thing gives them purpose. Now, some scholars would also call this the sacred, okay? Religious studies scholars would call this the sacred or the holy is another way of describing this, okay? Ultimate reality. And I like this terminology. I mean, I don't dislike it. And the idea of the sacred or the holy was basically for the same thing, a realm of existence that was different or separate from the different or separate from the ordinary or normal world. Non-ordinary things that happen or that people believe in. Okay, people, as I said, people have gurus and teachers, might have other human beings that they give their life to and that they follow. It could be a celebrity, an influencer, could be an author, could be an actor, an actress, all that people, are, we say, they're obsessed, they're fans. Well, the root word of fan is fanatic, okay? That's where it comes from. So they're fanatical, which is a religious term, actually. It means people who are overly, illogically religious, okay? A fan. And what was I going to say? Where was I going with that? Dr. Dunn. More coffee. Coffee centers. But I don't worship coffee. It's not a religion. Well, maybe. However, this person or whatever, this teacher, is not a god, okay? Necessarily. They're just a normal person, a celebrity, an influencer, whatever. They're part of the normal world. I could become a celebrity or an influencer, whatever. I couldn't, but I could hope, But anyways, I'm on YouTube too. Got like 300, 400 followers, subscribers to my channel. Anyways, dozens of people follow me. but I'm not, I'm not, once you say that this person is my God, then you've crossed a line or you've breached a level, I think. Now you've sacralized the person. You've made them holy or religious. They're not part of the normal world anymore. Okay? It's one thing to have, pictures of Taylor Swift on your phone or something. But it's another thing if you build a little, like, table, you put up a little table in your room with candles and incense and start putting that in front of pictures of Taylor Swift. Now, you could just be like, I'm a fan. You could explain it to me and say I'm a fan. But if I walked into the room and I'm like, that looks looks like you're worshiping Taylor Swift, or something, something else is going on there than just fandom. It's beyond normal. Okay? If a doctor takes you into the operating room and removes a tumor, normal. No one thinks anything else, thinks anything of that. If some reverend comes into the hospital and lays hands on your stomach to make the tumor disappear, that's not normal. At least we generally don't think that's normal. It might still work. If it does work, then that's really not normal. Hallelujah! It might make the news, But that's really not normal. We recognize that. We recognize the normal activity from the not normal. We recognize something is normal, but something is non-ordinary, sacred, holy. Something holy has happened. The sacred has made its presence felt, known. So we perceive it, okay? The sacred is a perception. We perceive a transcendent, enduring, and powerful order in the universe that has ultimate reality for us and meaning, okay? Which is, I guess, another way we could just define religion. I mean, if you compare it with my definition with religion, as our ultimate reality, I should say, it's kind of, there's overlap here. I guess the difference would be that for the sacred, it's more that perception that we get, the perception, that experience that we have, that we feel. Okay, we're getting more into feeling here, maybe not be so much logical perception. That might come later when we try to sort out what we experienced. But sometimes you have an experience first that is not normal, presuming you're not high. Which these days, well, I don't know if pot legal in Pennsylvania is. I know it is in New Jersey, so it's like, one pot shop after another as I drive down here. I'm like, oh, this is going to go well. But assuming that, well, in some religions, they try to induce these experiences by using drugs, peyote and stuff like in Native American religions. Even incense, for example, that you might have experienced if you're at a Catholic church or an Eastern Christian church. They use a lot of incense there, or a Hindu temple. Apparently has some kind of qualities that are, I wouldn't say drug-like qualities, but qualities that affect, our mental experience and stuff like that. Okay, they affect us physically, all right, because they want to bring us to an experience. Okay, sweat houses, again, Native American religion, where people will sit in front of fires for hours on end, dehydrate themselves because they want to have that visionary experience. They'll start. Religious studies scholars would say they're hallucinating. They believe they're having visions of the supernatural world. It's breaking open the real world into that non-ordinary world where they can start seeing things as they really are. They have a vision. But you have to create the experience by sitting in the sweat house. I couldn't. I'd be all red from the fire. I'd be like, nah, I'll be only there 5 minutes. I'm like, okay, dudes. No vision today. Dr. Dunn doesn't need any visions right now. Anyways, people want to create that experience of the sacred, that perception. But sometimes that perception is just given. People aren't expecting it. It just happens to some people. They have visions. The Prophet Muhammad, started, that we'll learn about, just started having these visions of words appearing in front of his eyes and stuff like that. At first, he didn't know what was going on. First he went to his wife. He thought he was going crazy. He told her, I think I'm losing my mind. And she took him to a holy man to give him, a religious figure. She's realized this ain't normal. And I don't think you're crazy. So it has to be something else. It's non-normal. So she took him to a local holy man, religious figure. He had an experience of the sacred, a perception of some power over him. And that's how he would describe it. Muhammad described it like he felt his soul was being ripped from his body. The sacred, the experience of the non-normal. The holy, what's set apart. The word sacred comes from sacher. Again, notice the connection here. Dedicated to a god. Something that's given over, set apart from normal use by being given over to the supernatural. So this is my cup of coffee. Yes? God bless you. Thank you. Somebody's there with Miss, don't tell, who are you? Oh, I was Miss Hedgepath? God bless you, Miss, I appreciate it. Somebody's still with, because I left the room like 5 weeks. Maybe my body's here. What's the first letter of the last name? F? Not Free J. No, Francis. That's my little angel. But anywho, what was I talking about? Oh yeah, Sacha, dedicated to a God of spirit. I got my cup there, but if I take that cup, dedicate it to a god, and use it in even in a different building like a Catholic church, it's not called a cup anymore. It's called a chalice. Even though the word colleagues in Latin is dedicated in English as chalice. Could they simply call it a cup? Yes. When the priest is changing the bread and wine into, body and blood of Christ, he says, this is, Jesus said, take and drink. This is the cup of, or the chalice of my blood. Okay, could they translate a cup of my blood? Yes, but they want to keep that connection that it's sacred. It's not a simple cup, even though it really is just a cup. Okay? But it's more than a cup because it's been dedicated to a god. It's been blessed for use in sacred ceremonies. Okay? So cups, certain vestments, or we don't call them vestments, even that word vestments. We don't just call them uniforms that the priest wears, or and any priest, not just a Christian priest, but priests in other religions might wear certain things, certain clothing. But we don't call it just clothes, that's their clothes. Vestments, we give it a special word because they're blessed. They're dedicated to the gods now. They're only used for that purpose. Just don't wear them around. You wear them for that special purpose. They're to perform that special purpose. So they're dedicated, something that's sacher. And the word holy means the same thing in English that comes to us from the German. Okay? Ultimately, it's related to a Greek word saos, or sos, a long O, so there's a line over it. It's a different letter. It's an omega, which has a sense of safety for being alive and well. We could also say healthy, maybe, but safety, okay? What does that have to do with sacredness? Well, the sacred also is a protective type of thing. When the gods are honored properly, okay, and sacred things are treated as they should be, they're safe. If you don't treat them properly, there can be damage. So if I treat a chalice, a Catholic, I remember, just give you one example. I was in a religious group for a little bit. I didn't stay, obviously. I was in a religious group for a few months. I liked the group, a lot of nice guys. We were actually here in Pennsylvania, up by Scranton. Town, outside of Scranton, south of Scranton, Easton. Well, it's not there anymore. They had a boys' school. Anyways, but they had a seminary there, and I thought I wanted to join this group. And they were a more conservative, traditional type group. And I wanted to be a priest, so I'd been an altar boy for like a long, long time in the parish. I was 6th grade, maybe. So and I was an altar boy, served at the mass until I left for college, so a long time. And since I wanted to be a priest, priests hated me because I would look in the books and see what they're supposed to be doing, and hopefully the priest is doing it. Because
I just have a question out of curiosity.
Yeah.
Is religion out there that believes that near-death experiences brings you closer to a God?
Well, I think any religion, first of all, no, I've not come across specifically something like that. Have a good day, sir. But I think that any religion that believes like in an afterlife would just logically tend towards that, because that's the direction you're going in. Even if in some religions like Hinduism, they believe you're going to come back again. Okay. But yeah, I would say yes.
I see in TV shows all the time that like if someone experiences a near-death experience, then while they're in that state of like between life and death, then they're like met with something. I don't know.
Okay.
I've just seen a lot of TV shows, so I wanted to know if that was like
Well,
an actual thing or.
Well, from little I know, and I know very little, but the little I can just give you the little that I've heard, and this was from a psychologist. so I'm assuming he knows what he's talking about, that he studied these things, that people that do have near-death experiences of whatever religion, it changes them. In a way, it makes them more centered and more focused on living life. Okay? It may make them more religious, but it certainly makes them more centered on the real and what is really mattered, they think is really mattering in life. So something happens there, apparently. But that's, I think, as much as I can say about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just out of curiosity.
Oh, that's good. Don't. Shame on you for being curious. You don't. This is university. You're not supposed to be curious. See you, miss.